Welcome back, everybody. Let's take a break. Take a break with Stephen Shamus.
Welcome, Alex. How you doing?
Wonderful.
You look like you're dressed very warm today. Are you like going into a snowstorm?
I decided to turn my air conditioning up as high as possible, just hoping the heat just goes away.
Well, I'm still wearing short sleeves. It's still summer out. I'm trying to stretch it as much as possible. So trying to enjoy this weather. So what are we going to talk about today, Alex?
Oh boy, we love to talk about them, but we're going to talk about more spider people. So we're going to talk about Silk, Arana, and then we're going to dive into Marvel's yet to be in production Hawkeye miniseries with Kate Bishop.
Yeah, that series is on fire.
Yep.
It's on fire. All right, cool. So and then we'll do your pick of the week at some point during the show. We all look forward to that. They haven't kicked us off the air. We're doing good.
They like the drum roll. That's what it is.
That's it is. They're my drum roll. It's very professional. It's very professional. I'm better than the guy from AGT. He got knocked off, unfortunately. But okay, Alex, what are we starting with today?
Let's talk about Silk. It's blew up within the past month.
Yeah, so they announced that there's going to be a live-action show, of course. There's nobody attached to it yet, but as per usual, when you see a Netflix, an Amazon, and a live-action, a character, boom, explosion. So that's what's happened with Silk. We're going to try to make sense of all the different versions for you today, which ones you should look out for, which ones are hot, which ones are the high pops, low pops. Some of these books, because they took place in the normal continuity and very popular books, have very high print runs, and maybe they have some higher blue labels, but there are some variants out there that the fans could take a look at. Obviously, with no shows going on, it's very, very hard right now for you all out there to kind of just go to the shows and dive through the boxes. There are definitely reports of store owners who are not able to keep up quickly enough to repricing all the stickers. Alex, when you worked at Midtown and there was a big announcement, how quickly was Midtown able to react to these price changes?
It was easier in the store because it closes at some point. But online, a lot of times stuff would break at 10 o'clock at night or later in the day, and no one would be able to get to the book. So then tomorrow morning, when you get back into the warehouse, books are gone. So it's quick. It's quick.
I've talked to some dealer friends. Superman #4, all of a sudden, Bloodsport. Yep. They had him at $3, sitting on eBay, and all of a sudden, hey, what? One vendor friend told me that he had multiple copies of Justice Society #3, which is the first Cyclone, and she gets announced for the new Dwayne The Rock film, and all of a sudden, like, everyone's buying Justice Society #3. Yep. So you know how it goes. Okay. All right, so the first book that we're going to talk about is she does have a cameo in the Amazing Spider-Man series from 2014. We're not going to address the cameos because they don't seem to be in high demand. She's not on the cover. It's not the book that people are considering, that people are going after. Also, the Spider-Man 1 from 2014 had a massive print run, crazy high. Yeah. They did a lot of variants and whatever. So it's not really a book that people are showing me boxes that they got of these things, right? So I don't think that's where the action is. But here's where the action is. So September of 2014, Amazing Spider-Man #4. Okay, there's a whole bunch of different versions of the book. It's very, very hard to keep track of them all. We're going to take you through them all one by one. So the first one is the Humberto Ramos cover. It sells for about $330 right now. However, the population is 2,644 blue label 9.8s and 545 gold label 9.8s. There are 10 and 2 9.9s, and there's one 10.0 blue label. And at $330, I mean, 2,600 is a very large population. I don't know how much more room that book has to go because, again, I know she's popular. I know she's going to get her live action show, but there are other, when you start looking at comps, what are the comps for $300, $350? To me, there's better low pop options. Yeah. So that's an interesting one. Everybody also, because Humberto is so closely affiliated with the Spider-Man character and people love his work, that's also a positive. And I think that book was also kind of heavily ordered too.
Definitely.
Where were you in 2014? Were you at Midtown?
I was still at Midtown. Yep.
You remember that Spider-Man series coming out?
Yeah, I do. And I don't remember Silk at all until her debut series. Like, I knew there were so many characters that Dan Slott had in his books that, just keeping track of that stuff is mind boggling. Sony did. Sony kept track of it because they're taking them.
Of course. So the second one is the J. Scott Campbell cover. Very, very popular. And that book sells for about $425. There are 215 Blue Label 9.8s, and there are 91 Gold Label 9.8s. Obviously, Jeff does a lot of his own signing, you know, and they do them that way. So that makes it a little bit easier to get Jeff. He doesn't do a lot of events. So that's the Campbell's cover. Then there's two other versions of the Campbell cover. There is the negative cover where they flip the black and the white printing on. It's pretty neat, pretty interesting cover. There are 154 Blue Label 9.8s. There are 95 Gold Label 9.8s. That's about a $300 book. Interestingly enough, the sketch cover, which is more there's more prevalent, they sell for higher. They sell for $425. I think aesthetically it's a nicer cover.
People like the line work stuff.
People like the line work, and also if you're going to get a book signed and you get it signed in color on the sketch cover, it looks really, really nice. When you're getting the reverse negatives, you got to get a silver marker.
Yeah.
Sometimes it doesn't show up as well. So I think aesthetically that's why you're seeing that. There's 171 Blue Label 9.8s. There's 114 Gold Label 9.8s. There's one 9.9, and that book sells for around $425.
Yeah.
So the regular Campbell cover and the sketch cover sell for around the same. There's a few more of the sketch cover, regular covers out there. Okay, that takes us. Then there's an Humberto Ramos variant cover. Okay, I know it's hard to keep track. Yeah, and there's 1,026 Blue Label 9.8s. There are 265 Gold Label 9.8s, and there are two 9.9s, and that book sells for $800. I don't remember a book with that high of a pop from the modern age, selling for those kind of numbers with that kind of population, $800.
Yeah, it's nuts.
So that's a book that people really seem to be focusing in on. But then comes the second print, Alex.
Yeah.
Right? What do we always say? What do we always say?
Yep.
My favorite.
The second prints. That's it.
My favorite. 38 Blue Label 9.8s,
wow.
2 Gold Label 9.8s. There are no copies for sale. I think if you're looking for the bargain, if you're looking to find something, I think that's the book you try to find. Again, you can't go to shows right now. Maybe go online, maybe go to Mile High, maybe go to Midtown. Try to find the copies, try to find the second prints. Interestingly enough, the second print was released 3 months later, so it's dated December of 2014. But you can't find those in 9.8s. So as we've always talked about, you know, 9.8. So it is interesting with Humberto over the years. And, you know, we talked about it with the Spider-Man covers, with the Miles Morales stuff. What is it about Humberto's artwork that people so closely associate his work with Spider-Man as, like, he's sort of in the modern era, he's of the last 10, 15 years, he's the artist that people most associate with Spider-Man.
Yeah, I mean, we can go back to talking about how Todd McFarlane, his Spider-Man changed, and how everybody was a huge Todd McFarlane Spider-Man. That's what Humberto's done with his Spider-Man. He's changed his art. You know Humberto's art when you see it. You're not like, oh, that could be Eric Larson. Oh, that could be. No, you know his art right away when you see it. And he's done Spider-Man for so long that his Spider-Man, you can spot a mile away. And that's what a lot of people like in artists. You know, there's some people that can draw just like the other guy. You know, there's some, you know, Batman a lot of times has the same type of artist because they don't like when people mess up the storylines with different artists. Spider-Man's on the other side of that. They like when new guys come in and change it around.
Right. Okay, so then we move on to the Silk series, which you're talking about, which came out in April of 2015. Again, there's a whole bunch of different variants, and we'll get into the tough ones to find. And again, without shows going on, it's going to be tougher to track these guys down. You'll have to go online. You'll have to use your eagle eyes on eBay or Midtown or one of these other sites. And when you go to the regular cover of Silk #1, there are 548 Blue Label 9.8s. There are 100 Gold Label 9.8s. There's one 9.9, and that book is about $175 right now. Yeah, that is not bad at all, right? Not bad at all. I think that's a good buy. Then there's the Scotty Young variant cover. There are 65 Blue Label 9.8s. There are 45 Gold Label 9.8s. Now, a lot of people love Scotty Young. I love Scotty Young. I think he does a great job. The baby variants sometimes don't translate as well aesthetically for the collectors who want those first appearances, and they want the character to appear in their costume or in a certain way or how they see them on TV. I personally love Scotty stuff. I think they're great. That book is only selling for $75, and I think that's the reason why it's only selling for $75, because it's not the aesthetic that people are going to want to see when they see her on the screen. The next one is the Stacey Lee 1 in 25 variant.
Oh, Stacey Lee's great.
Okay. 188 blue label 9.8s, 66 gold label 9.8s. That book is a $425 book.
Yeah.
That book is hot. That book's on fire. That book is hot. That's the book that everyone's focusing on, the Stacey Lee cover. Then there's a Hastings variant. So, Hastings from time to time did these variants. Is Hastings even around anymore even doing these variants?
No, they've gone out. Way of the dinos.
Way of the dinos. Okay. So the Hastings variant, John Tyler Christopher, who's on fire. The guy who's everything he's touching is gold. To me, that's the steal right now. There's 59 blue label 9.8s, Alex. There are 20 9.8 gold labels. It's only about $125 book. It's John Tyler Christopher.
That's early John Tyler Christopher.
Right. That's the book you want to look at for that price. Then there's our friends at Comics Pro again, right? Comics Pro always seems to show up. 141 blue label 9.8s, 20 gold label 9.8s. That book is a $425 book.
Wow.
So there's 3 times as many Comics Pro versions, but it sells for a third of the price of the but it sells for 3 times more than the John Tyler Christopher.
Yeah.
So something doesn't make sense there. I think the Hastings has a lot of room to move up.
Totally. Especially since those Hastings are gone. So unless you bought them then, there's not like a store still selling them. You had to have had them.
Right. And it had to have been like in your region or your area, because like they don't really have Hastings around here, like where I live in New York City. No. Right. So if you like really live, sometimes regions might be more populated, densely populated. Right. And then the last version, we're going back to good, old, reliable, second print. 30 blue label 9.8s, 1 gold label 9.8.
Wow.
150. It sells for about $150. Again, I think the Hastings and the second prints are the way to go on the silks.
Definitely. And silk, I mean, this character isn't going anywhere. I mean, the rumor mill of the, Silk being the TV show, there's nothing officially come out yet, but Cindy Moon is in the Amazing Spider-Man Homecoming. There's an actress that plays her. They already have the character. Her name is Cindy in the movie. So she is going to become a big player in this universe.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So what do we got next, Alex?
Let's talk Arana, which I think a lot of people kind of pass over. But if you're looking at what Sony's doing, what Into the Spider-Verse did, bringing all these different spider people, I mean, she's been around. She's Spider-Girl now. She wasn't when she first came out. Her first appearance was in an Amazing Fantasy. So if you're an Amazing Fantasy person, and then her backstory of getting her powers, caught between a fight by 2 warring like magician families, like. It's loco, but again, it all revolves around Spider-Man and Sony, who's let Marvel had Spider-Man these last few years. Now with them being like, well, if we can't use Spider-Man for ourselves, let's use everybody else we can. And here's a perfect example who's probably going to show up sometime.
Absolutely, I think it's bound to happen. And because these books are so old at this point, they're 15 years old, 16 years old. I think they have a lot of room to move because again, these books were kicking around for a long time. Right. So let's take a look. You brought up Amazing Fantasy #1, from August of 2004, 16 years already, 16 years. That's a long now time. You're not going to see these books kicking around.
No.
125 blue label 9.8s, 7 gold label 9.8s, very low pop. You're not going to see more. People don't have boxes of them anymore in high grade, $400.
Wow. Yeah.
And that has a lot of room to move.
Yeah.
Then in March of 2005, she got her own series. Mm-hmm. I think the Quesada, I love the Quesada. When Quesada does the variants to the #1s, he just, his style has always evolved. His layouts have always evolved. Joe is a master.
Yep.
No question about it. And he knocked it out of the park. I love Joe's cover to Arana Heart of Spider #1 from March of 2005. There are only 19 blue label 9.8s. Wow. There's only 1 gold label 9.8s. It only sells for around $80 right now.
Oh, wow.
I think the pop is so low just because no one thought to send it in.
Right.
I do think people have those books because over the years, people, if it was a Quesada book, if it was a #1, people did set those books aside. They were not tossed around, like some of these other, obscure type titles.
Sure.
That's a great buy right now, the Quesada cover. And then there's a Mark Brooks variant cover, and Mark Brooks is amazing in his own right.
Co-creator, yeah.
Right, co-creator. There are 30 blue label 9.8s. There are 0 gold label 9.8s. and that book sells for around $100 right now. So
wow.
Both of those books are great buys at their current levels. And again, the pops are so low, so if a couple of them sell, there may not be any more, but you'll want to send your stuff in and get those done. All right, we've come to your favorite part of the show, Alex, right?
Yes.
Are you ready? I'm going to go on America's Got Talent next season with this.
Oh, fantastic. I think that's a great idea.
Right. Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
I'm going to warm up my hands, Alex. You ready?
Yes.
All right. It's Alex's pick of the week. Alex, what do you got for us, my friend?
Let's talk about on-demand printing. And right now, there's only one team doing it, and it's a collectible, but it's sports cards. Topps is doing the on-demand printing. You've seen it slowly creep up. If you're a sports card guy, you know exactly about this. If you're not a sports card guy, I think it's an interesting way to do things. And they've been doing it for Star Wars. They've been doing it for baseball now, and it's blowing up. For the Star Wars one, if you're not familiar with it, you can talk more about the sports one because that's your world. But the Star Wars ones is they have the art. They show you the two cards that are for sale, and you have, I believe it's 2 to 3 days to buy them. Once those days are over, you cannot buy those cards again. So if 2,000 people ordered them, 2,000 cards are printed. If only one person bought them, only one card's printed. They're printing 2 orders, which when you think about it is like, oh, that's a good idea. But a year from now, if you're trying to collect all those Star Wars Now cards, Topps Nows, you're not gonna be able to find them unless you go on eBay, and they're gonna be jacked up because they're gonna be extremely rare.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because, when we were doing the signing for Ewan and Hayden, I don't think they had released those characters yet. But to your point is, let's just say, you do another character down the road and you want to buy some of those cards because they're kind of, I've seen the cards you're talking about because they're kind of cool looking. It's like, oh, hey, we're doing a signing with, Harrison Ford, right? And Harrison Ford's card was from like 2 years ago.
Right.
And you need 50 of them. Well, you can't buy 50 of them, right?
No
you could have bought 50 of them in that window of time. So, I mean, how prophetic can you be in terms of anticipating, oh, well, I'm going to need 50 or 100 of this, when Ace does the signings, like when we did the signing with Shamik, it was like all of a sudden we needed to buy trading cards. Like, where do you buy them? How do you buy them in quantity? How do you find them? Where do you find them?
Yeah.
Who do you find them from? So good point. You may just want to pick up one for yourself. The Topps 2020 project on the sports side is crazy. It's created insanity. The cards have skyrocketed. In many cases, funny enough, the reprints are selling for multiple times of the originals. Yeah,
and they're cool because they're not just rehashing an old card from the 80s or an old card from the 60s. They're getting like street artists, they're getting online artists, comic book artists to recreate some of those cards. And they're, some of them, they're not completely taken. They're like artist renditions of Ken Griffey Jr. And those things are amazing.
Yes. Yeah. So, okay, great. So what do we got next, Alex?
Yeah, let's talk about another Marvel TV show that I think because of coronavirus kind of got pushed back, but we know it's coming. The Hawkeye Disney Plus series and Kate Bishop.
Right. So the Kate Bishop character is absolutely on fire. It's scorching. We have one interesting anecdote with the Young Avengers book, so we'll get to that when we start talking about it. It's kind of funny. It's something that I was personally involved in 15 years ago, and since somebody sent it to me, I was shocked, right? So Young Avengers #1 came out in 2005. I remember when that book came out. That book was not a low print run. They printed a mother load of these books. Yeah. Okay,
well, I think it was Alan Heinberg's one of his first comic book writing. And if anybody that's watching this doesn't know who that is, he eventually wrote a little movie called Wonder Woman that did okay, I believe. But he is a huge TV and movie writer, and this was, I think, either his first foray into comics or like major comics work.
Yeah, absolutely. It's got a great Jimmy Chung cover.
Oh yeah,
And so what was interesting is that book came out, it had a very, very high print run, and it kind of caught on from, like you said, from the story point of view, but the characters hadn't caught on at the time. Now, this is 15 years ago. People did, for the most part, keep these books. They did keep them because it was a #1. It was an Avengers title, but it wasn't a short printed book. And it sold so well that they made a director's cut version of it. Okay.
One of the first director's cuts, I believe.
Yes, one of the first where it had the fading color. And it was so popular that at the time when we were running the Wizard World LA show, we decided to do an exclusive sketch cover variant for it. So I'm going to take you through the different iterations of the book, and one of them is going to blow your mind. So #1, April 2005, there was 874 blue label 9.8s, 25 gold label 9.8s, probably all Jimmy Chung's.
Yeah,
those books are about $430 right now.
Wow.
So that book is
Crazy
a big book, and it's a big print run, and it's a big book, and it's selling. Then the director's cut came out, and that book definitely had a lower print run. I think it was a slightly higher covers price. I think it had a few extras in it. So that book has 134 blue labels 9.8s and 36 gold label 9.8s with one 9.9. That book sells for about $550.
Wow.
The print run on that book is significantly lower than the regular copy, but some people prefer the original. It's fully colored in. The director's cut kind of fades from color to sketch. And then, thank you very much. I had the brilliant idea. Thank you. I'll take credit. To do an exclusive sketch cover for our Wizard World LA show. And part of it at the time was we had this VIP program. And what we thought would be special for the VIPs, and at that time, we used to give people CGC books at every show. So what we did is we sent a case of the sketch covers to CGC well before the show took place. And we had them grade 285 books as 9.8 for all the VIPs at the show. And we had them create a special label, and it was a red label, and they graded them 9.5 because we wanted to try a new grading scale that was unique to our books at the show. So we did a little bit of a test. Who knew that little test, what it would have become? If you were a regular attendee of the show and you wanted it, and you could buy a copy or you could get a copy. I don't remember exactly how they were distributed, but they were only distributed at the Wizard World LA show. We probably printed anywhere from 5,000 to 10,000 copies. I don't recall at the time. And those books have a very, very low pop. There are 254 blue label 9.8s. There's 144 gold label 9.8s. Jimmy was at that show, and he did sign the books there. That book sells for about $875 now. It's crazy. Just a regular version, not signature series or anything. Yeah. The VIP version that's numbered to 285, that is also encapsulated with the special label. Now remember, 9.5 technically is 2 grades lower than the 9.8 because you have 9.8, 9.6. But if you wanted to make an argument, it's probably equivalent to a 9.6. So it's probably 1 grade lower. Those books are selling for $3,000 plus. Somebody must have pulled them out of the box. Now, the one thing I will say is this, is out of the 285 people that got those books, unlike a comic book where you bring a comic book, you get it home from the show, it gets folded, it gets rolled, it gets thrown in a bag, could have gotten tossed aside, could have gotten thrown out, whatever. CGC books, people don't really do that with. So people have got to go digging back into their books, but you're talking about 15 years. People move, they crack, they drop, they stop them. But yes, that book is now selling for $3,000 plus, Alex.
Wish I'd have picked that up.
I don't have any copies.
I know.
I don't have any.
More than 10 years old.
I don't have any. I don't know what I did with that. I would think I would have one personal copy for myself.
Well, it's just $3,000. Just go on eBay. They have PayPal has credit now, so you can just use that.
I wish I had known. All right, Alex. So talk to us a little bit about Kate Bishop, where the character originated from, what's the significance, what was her role in the Avengers film, and where we are today with her.
Yeah, so I mean, if you think of when Young Avengers came out, I don't think Kate Bishop was the standout character. There was Patriot, there was Hulkling, there was Wiccan, there was other characters in that book that I think people liked more. But what you see in something like this is the character of Kate Bishop really, after the Young Avengers books and then the Hawkeye Matt Fraction series, that's when that character took off. She was in that series. She's essentially just like Hawkeye. She doesn't have any powers. She's a great athlete. She's a great archerist. But the character that Matt Fraction wrote elevated her to superfan status. So the rumors right now are that Haley Steinfeld will be playing Kate Bishop. I don't think it's 100% confirmed. I think everybody, even Variety, is like, it's pretty much true. They just haven't come out and said it. But this is a huge actress. She was the voice of Spider-Gwen. She was in the True Grit remake, plus a million other things. She's a big name actress. They wouldn't cast this big name actress if they didn't think it was going to be the next level of something for them. And I mean, the Disney Plus series, I mean, really, we've only seen Mandalorian because of the pandemic and everything. But if it's even half as good as Mandalorian, it's going to be a hit. I mean, they really know what they're doing over there with making TV shows.
All right. By the way, she was nominated for an Oscar for her role in True Grit, by the way.
I mean, if you haven't seen that True Grit remake, it's I don't want to say it's better than the original because people will start emailing me nasty things, but it is really good. Josh Brolin was also in that. Thanos.
I know.
So there's your Marvel.
All right, Alex. I think that does it for today.
Well,
it was great seeing you. We will see you.
Pleasure.
We will see you next week.
Same bat time.
Same bat channel. Thanks, everybody. Awesome. We'll catch you next time.
Thanks, guys.